This is for the Module 7 discussion. I chose questions 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 4. Question 1 asks if I feel that the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is applicable to other cultures. I think it is, because it's a widely recognized theory in psychology and in intercultural communication, which explains just basic human needs and like their higher level needs for like self-actualization. And although the chapter itself says on page 287 that although this hierarchy itself comes of a particular cultural viewpoint that values individualism, it still serves as a useful way to understand the challenges of moving from one culture to another. So that's why I would say it's applicable to other cultures, just because even though it wasn't made necessarily thinking for all cultures, it mainly is building off of each other for an individualistic viewpoint. It can still be applied to other cultures. Question 2 asks for which of the acculturation growth models reflects best from my personal experience. I think the one that fits, or for a certain experience that I've had, it fits a lot of the U-curve model, because I went through all of those phases, and a lot of it was sort of it went along with like just like typical like ups and downs that I had at home. So I would say from my experience, it would be moving to Argentina, and the first stage is the honeymoon phase or stage, and I would say that I kind of experienced that a lot, because I mean, I was going to a new country, I was traveling, and I met family that I forgot about or had never met, and it was very great because it felt like a vacation, until I ended up having to go to school there. I had to enroll into schools and all of that, and that's where I started to face like the idea of culture shock, because I mean, one, I had to wear uniforms, and I was very stuck on not wanting to do that, because I had my first few years grown up in the United States, where your clothing is just your way of expressing your individualistic self, whereas there it's very common to wear uniforms. And I think culture shock came to me not just in that way, but just other forms of communication. Communicating was very hard for me, because people from Argentina speak a lot differently than people from Mexico, and how my parents spoke, they spoke differently with different accents, so I think that's a big thing. And I would say that I recovered largely due to simply having to adapt, and also just all of my family that helped me with that. And I ended up adjusting, because I lived there for a year and experienced almost the same cycle multiple times when I was traveling to other countries for a couple months at a time. So I think that the U-curve model definitely applied there. And the fourth question, or the fifth question. Okay, the fifth question asks, in this chapter it is argued, or says, in this chapter it is argued that returning to your own culture may be as difficult as going to a new one. Do you believe this? Why or why not? I do believe this, because I experienced it, and it's logical to think of, because if you spend so much time away from home, in a way you start adapting to this new culture and perceiving it and building new like connections that kind of make you perceive it as your new home. And so when you end up sort of going back, then you have to adjust all over again. And in my experience, going back to living in Argentina, I only lived there for a little more than a year. And when I ended up coming back, it was very hard to adjust, because living in the United States, as I said in my previous response, that it was very hard, or it was very different. And so when I came back, adjusting to the new culture again, or to my previous culture all over again, was hard, because I sort of forgot my English and ended up having to speak broken English. So I think it was very, like, in that way, it was very hard. And yes, thank you.